Welcome back to the channel. Let's get into these videos.
AI can now officially read your dreams. When you look at anything like this grass field, your brain's neural pathways form a specific pattern, sort of like a heat map. And every possible thing you look at or can even imagine has its own unique pattern. When you dream, your brain behaves much the same way, forming brain frequency patterns based on what you're dreaming about. Well, Asa Raskin from the Center for Humane Technology announced that they've done some tests, and what they discovered is impressive but incredibly alarming. They put a test subject inside an fMRI machine, which can read brain activity, and had them look at an image, in this case an image of a giraffe, and the machine mapped out their brainwave pattern. They then hid the image and fed only the brain map data to an AI image generator, probably a little more advanced than Midjourney. An AI that has never seen the original image of the giraffe, nor had access to an internet database that stored the original image either. It then generated, strictly based on the fMRI brain map data, what it determined that the person was looking at, and this is what it produced. Not exactly the same image, but I don't think you understand what it means that AI can now turn this into that with this level of accuracy. And we're still quite early in this technology, so it's only getting better from here. Then they took it a step further. They showed the test subject in the fMRI machine a video, and on top of generating what the subject is seeing, they also wanted to find out if the AI can read your inner monologue, the words you think to yourself in your own mind that no one else knows about. The test subject watched this video and was told to narrate what was going on in the video inside their own head. Here, let's do it together. You ready? Did you get all that? Now again, given only the subject's brain activity heat map, this is what the AI determined the person was thinking. I see a girl that looks just like me get hit on the back, and then she is knocked off. Probably a bit different than what you thought, but this is literally AI reading our minds, and all it takes is someone's fMRI brain scan data. Our thoughts and dreams can now be leaked to the world. Give it a few more years and this technology will get near perfect. And sure, fMRI machines may look like this today, big, clunky, and all around you, but that technology is also going to improve. What if we have fMRI Apple Vision Pro goggles 10, 20 years from now? You'd be able to see and read what someone is thinking or even dreaming by just looking at them.
It's not the Titans or the pyramids that they keep us from independently exploring Antarctica beyond the 60th parallel south. It's the lands beyond the ice. They want us thinking we have an overpopulation problem with limited lands and resources, and Antarctica is nothing but a frozen wasteland. But that is far from true. Just watch and see for yourself.
The smooth shelf roughens. Dark rocks, called nunataks, appear above the ice. Then rugged mountain ranges as far as the eye can see. Bunger leans forward in amazement. His eyes have caught a sudden and unbelievable change in scenery. The universal white has turned to chocolate brown, dotted with blue. A cameraman goes into action. 300 square miles of land without snow. Land that might be in New Mexico or Arizona. Pictures alone will prove Bunger has discovered a warm oasis in the shadow of the pole. It is for such supreme moments as this that men brave the hardships of exploration. The astounding, undreamed of fact is that they are over a chain of warm water lakes, whose shores, except for small patches, are free of ice and snow. Commander Bunger circles the largest lake in sight, 5 miles long. He comes in to make a landing. Water temperatures must be recorded. Samples taken. He finds the water fresh. Temperature 38 degrees Fahrenheit. On the shores are vast deposits of coal and of minerals of the utmost importance to civilization. Aside from their headline discovery, Bunger and his men have another...
So-called tunnel rats had one of the most dangerous jobs during the Vietnam War, exploring and destroying the secret tunnels of the enemy forces called Viet Cong. To counter the technical superiority of the United States, the Viet Cong made use of a tunnel system, which allowed them to appear and disappear almost anywhere on the battlefield. While the upper tunnels served as communication routes, the lower levels housed entire military hospitals, supply depots, and training facilities. Since the tunnel system, which spread over hundreds of miles, was too complex to be destroyed with bombs, infantry soldiers had to descend into the unknown darkness themselves. Before doing so, they took off their equipment and armed themselves only with a pistol. To be as stealthy as possible, they often worked alone and without flashlights. Booby traps or Viet Cong could be waiting behind every turn. On top of that, soldiers risked suffocation, getting lost, or being buried alive in a tunnel collapse. More than a third of the 600 tunnel rats died during their dangerous mission. Nevertheless, their work proved to be very effective. The tunnel rats disrupted the enemy in their otherwise safe retreat, gathered information, and were able to blow up parts of the tunnel
While
system.
exploring hundreds of feet underneath Chicago, we found 100-year-old artifacts hidden in this tiny hole. Underneath the city streets, there's miles of catacombs, and this is one of the holes in the catacombs. It was nearly impossible to get inside, but we somehow managed to squeeze through. This was apparently a deep underground part of an old church that was demolished over 30 years ago. The story goes that before the church was demolished, explorers took these artifacts deep underground, where they would be preserved forever. Are these newspapers? From the church? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This church was extremely historical, and all these artifacts were inside or part of the building at one point. Getting down was not an easy task either, and we had to slip through the cracks and continue our journey deep underground.
My dreams are private. Definitely don't need AI or anyone else looking into them. And as far as crawling around any small tunnels, count me out.
Have you ever heard that there's actually more than just one pope? Well, supposedly, there are three. So first we have the White Pope, which is the one that we all know as Pope Francis. And then we have the Black Pope, Arturo Sosa, who is the Superior General of the Society of Jesus. And then we have the Gray Pope, Pepe Orsini, who is the Duke of Gravina, but his actual name is Domenico Napoleon Orsini. Well, supposedly the Black Pope, Arturo Sosa, has more power than the White Pope, Pope Francis, and the Gray Pope, Pepe Orsini, has more power than both of them and controls things from behind the scenes. It's believed that the Orsini family is one of the most powerful families in the world, and their bloodline goes back to very old nobility. Also, members of the Orsini family include 5 popes. First, we have Pope Stephen II, who was from 752 to 757. Then you have Pope Paul I from 757 to 767. Pope Celestine III from 1191 to 1198, Pope Nicholas III from 1277 to 1280, and the last one was Pope Benedict XIII from 1724 to 1730. And on top of all of that, the family included 34 cardinals, so these were very, very influential people. But there's so much more information about the Orsini family that I want to talk about in other videos, and other families who are tied to them through the papal bloodlines who supposedly control the world. But let me know what you think. Is there actually a Gray Pope who's really the one calling the shots behind the scenes, or is this just some wild conspiracy?
Rothschilds come from the Orsini family. Roth means red in German, and the Orsini means red bear, little red bears. That's what Orsini means. The Grey Pope is Pepe Orsini. He trumps the black, he trumps the white Pope.
The Grey Pope is even higher than the Black and the White Pope.
The Orsini is the Maxima family. They are the maximum family. They are on top. And somehow they've trumped the Colonna and the Farnese, which I know, without any doubt, through all my studies, that they are the 3 most powerful Illuminati.
What about Rothschild and Rockefeller?
Well, they are Orsini. They just changed their name. Rockefeller were Rothschilds. Rothschilds were Orsini. Orsini were a family which have their lines in Babylon and Egypt. They tell you that. You read their biographies. They'll tell you that. We go back to Nimrod. They tell you that. The Rothschilds say that. We go back to Nimrod. How? Through the Orsini. So Rockefeller, Rothschild, Orsini, and then you go back to the Persian and Egyptian dynasties.
There's a CIA document that came out. Everybody just started talking about it now. It's called the Adam and Eve story. It basically explains how the world is going to end. Has it been true? It makes sense. They say the world is going to end because the poles, like, North and South Pole, they shift every 12,000 to 15,000 years. And once they shift, it causes like a giant apocalypse. Big earthquakes, giant tsunamis. Once the apocalypse happens, we go right back to the Stone Age. And it's said that our first humans, like as us, it was 10,000 years ago. So if you think about it, 10,000 years ago, we're in year 2000. We're at 12,000 years right now. And now you see like global warming and shit like that. Like in the book, it says that we are the 6th civilization that came out of the apocalypse. So we just get to a certain point in life and then it just hard reset. And that explains a lot because remember how you were saying that the Sahara Desert used to be green and like the Antarctica used to have forests and like that? Yeah. That's what happens. Like it switches everything, flips. Yeah. So now like some places turn cold, some places turn hot. That's why they was talking about like the flood in the Bible like that. That's probably what happened to Atlantis and shit like that. I was just about to say
say Atlantis. It would make sense for a city in the water if the water wasn't
The
there.
CIA recently declassified a book that says all of humanity will soon be wiped out in a global cataclysm. The book is called The Adam and Eve Story. Part 1 and 2 blew my mind and they're up on my profile. What really trips me out is that the events outlined in this book actually gives reasonable explanations to history's greatest mysteries, such as Antarctica, the lost city of Atlantis, the pyramids all around the world, Stonehenge, Easter Island, the forgotten Pacific continent of Mu, the list goes on. And virtually every religion in ancient folklore and history talks of a catastrophe that resets the entire world. Like the famous Noah's Ark, the Hurricane flood of the Mayans, the Sumerians had the flood in Gilgamesh, and all written completely independent of each other and all prophesizing that it will happen again, aka Judgment Day. Same goes for the legends of the pyramids and all these ancient structures all around the world. Each of these cultures have an almost identical story of some greater being coming down and building these monuments for them, despite these ancient civilizations being tens of thousands of kilometers apart and never coming into contact with each other. Not a single one of them actually taking credit for these incredible achievements themselves. I don't know about you, but if I was some great civilization that built something as incredible as the pyramids, I would definitely want to be flexing on everyone about it. But these stories of the pyramids and worldwide floods, remnants of our advanced ancestors passed on to the Stone Age of the next civilization of humans. And again, the book that outlines these events has been dismissed by everyone as pseudoscience. But as we've seen, especially lately, the difference between pseudoscience and science is usually just time. This book was classified by the CIA up until 2013, so were they trying to hide something from us?
Adam and Eve weren't the only two people on Earth. If you take two people and you think you're going to get 8 billion out of two, doesn't work. What happens if you start having sex with your sister? You're going to have genetic mutations, and by the third generation, there'll be stillbirths. Not enough genetic diversity. And Enki, he was known as Satan, the Lord of Eden in the text. And he would watch over this Eden. He had guards with weapons. When Enki came and told Adam and Eve who they were and how powerful they were and that they were at the same level as them, that's when they realized that they weren't dumb. That was the apple. The apple was knowledge. And then Enlil, Yahweh, comes back and gets pissed off because he discovered what happens. Then he starts calling his brother the devil. You don't listen to him, he's evil. And when Adam discovered all of this, he tried to commit suicide. He was kicked out of the garden, as you know. He tried to drown himself in the waters, and the guards came and pulled him out of the water, wouldn't let him kill himself.
I've read the CIA sanitized version of the Adam and Eve story. It is very interesting stuff, almost scary.
The greatest proof that the Earth is flat. We're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. We're orbiting in the heliocentric model of the Earth, the sun at 66,600 miles an hour. While doing that, we're chasing the sun at almost 500,000 miles per hour. So we're corkscrewing and spinning through an infinite universe, never to return to where we were before. The Georgia Guidestones had a little hole drilled in the middle stone, and if you look through it, there is the star Polaris, our North Star. How can we be traveling in all these different directions, traveling infinite distances, and that star just always remains in that hole? There's no way it would be in that circle a day, let alone 40 years. But it was there.
Somebody blew it up.
Just look at these plans from Tesla. Wireless free energy transmitting devices using airships and Tesla towers. Now look at those Tesla towers. I believe they were already part of an old world technology Tesla rediscovered. Once the world elites got wind of what Tesla was planning to do, giving free energy to all, they quickly shut it down. Just look at his Tesla towers and look at the mooring stations of airships. The infrastructure was already there, and it's been there for quite some time. And that's the great thing about these mooring stations. They could be built anywhere and used in small fashion to large fashion. Just think of all those water towers and other odd castle-like towers from the old world. You can even have mooring stations on ships, transferring electricity or receiving electricity. And like I said, this technology has already been in use before. Flying craft of the old world like Vimana, depicted for thousands of years. And look at some of these towers they call observation towers, like in New Brighton. Very similar to both mooring stations and Tesla towers. Truly nothing new under the sun. Question everything, friends.
I'm also just a girl.